Most people pick their Hannya colour based on what looks cool, but unfortunately they're missing the point. And until the other day when I sat down to draw a Hannya for a tattoo, I realised so was I. What's even worse is I've been tattooing for 20 years and I've never even given it a second thought. I mean, a black koi swimming upstream symbolises perseverance through hardship, while a red one swimming downstream means you've overcome that obstacle. Colour in Japanese tattooing and culture in general holds massive significance. So, in this video today, I'm diving deeper into what the different colour Hannya masks really symbolises. Now, before I jump in, I just want to say I'm a naive Westerner trying to figure this out the best I can while showing the utmost respect for traditional Japanese tattooing and its culture. Because Wabori is so historic, these stories vary from region to region and family to family. I've done my absolute best to fact check everything in this video, but if my research has missed a nuance or sounds a bit off to you, I welcome your feedback in the comments below. So during the 8th century, a form of acrobatic entertainment was introduced to the streets of Japan from China. Over the years, what was once an art form of the lower classes became a popular, sophisticated form of theatre by the 14th century, now known as No. It was during this time that the use of masks became popularised, and by the Edo period, No theatre became an official ceremony art form of the military government. By this point, it evolved into a highly stylised, slow, ritual-like performance that uses masks and elegant minimal movement to tell the stories of spirits, demons, and even deep human emotions. The masks used were central to the performance, each one representing a specific character or emotional state. They were carved so that even the slightest change in angle or lighting can completely shift its expression. The iconic mask as we know it today was largely shaped during the Edo period. But the big question is that everyone wants to know is, what do these masks symbolise, and more importantly, what do the different colours of Hannya actually mean? Well, the Hannya story is a sad one of sorrow and originates from the 11th century Japanese literature and Buddhist folklore. But ironically, the word Hannya literally means wisdom. To me this makes perfect sense, because to truly understand one's own chaotic emotions takes a great deal of self-reflection and insight, or wisdom, and the Hannya embodies that exact internal struggle. So, to cut a very long story short, there was once a high-class noblewoman named Lady Rokujō who was deeply involved with Prince Genji. The only problem was, he didn't really love her in the same way that she loved him, and unfortunately, he started seeing other women. But her repressed jealousy becomes so overwhelming that her spirit broke free without her control. This is the very spirit that transforms into the demon we all know and love in Japanese woodblock print and Wabori to this very day. The Hannya simply symbolises duality of human emotion. But, as with everything in Japanese culture, the Hannya is a lot more complex, and its symbolism is far more nuanced, which is what I'll do my very best to explain in a moment. It's worth noting that tattoos have expanded on these colours over the years, but today we're going to focus on the more traditional ones, starting with the most humanely relatable, the white Hannya. This colour mask symbolises a stage of transformation just after Naminari, or the half-become demon. The Naminari is actually a completely separate mask that marks the very beginning of her descent, but that's another mask for another video. Anyway, so why white? Well, when an actor wore a white mask, he wasn't only signalling the early stage of transformation, it also told the audience that this character was a woman of noble birth, someone educated, refined, and still deeply human. If I were to convey this stage in tattoo form, I'd draw it with a more sorrowful expression, softer, less aggressive features, and maybe a more rounded jawline overall. I'd want it to feel less demonic and more tragic. At this stage, the white Hannya still holds an element of human emotion, and this is why the early stages of a white Hannya represent grief, emotional turmoil, jealousy, and the beginning of transformation. But the red mask's where things begin to change drastically for the worse. Probably the most common variation in traditional Japanese tattooing, the red Hannya represents the second stage of transformation. Although the colour rules aren't strictly rigid, at this stage the mask's telling the story of a lower class woman whose humanity is rapidly slipping away. This is where her sadness is now turned into rage and pure hatred. But I guess the bigger question is, why red? Well, on the surface it represents passion, intense emotion, but what's more interesting is, in Japanese culture, red is traditionally used as a colour of protection against evil spirits. And this is the part I love the most. The Hannya is ironically a paradox. Her human emotions created something inhumane. She is feared and also pitied. She is also a symbol of protection, yet something that needs protecting from herself. And her rage, well, it consumes others, but in the process, She's also consuming herself. If I were translating this into a tattoo, this is where the expression would become much more intense. Deeper, more angled eyebrows, sharper eyes with a wider mouth showing more teeth, and the horns becoming more pronounced and aggressive. The red Hannya shows rage taking over. But there's one final stage. Another variation where she's so consumed by jealousy, guilt and revenge that she no longer exists as a woman, but as something entirely different. This is the stage where the black Hannya symbolises complete transformation into a demon. There's literally no trace left of remorse or human emotion. No humanity remains. She's quite literally fully possessed, consumed entirely by jealousy, rage and revenge. This is often seen as the most powerful and feared of all three variations. If the white Hannya represents a noblewoman and the red reflects a point where humanity begins to collapse, the black mask is something entirely different. It represents the point of no return where the transformation is complete and all signs of human identity is gone. At this stage, it's no longer about grief or heartbreak, it's about pure, uncontrollable demonic existence. If I were requested to draw a black Hannya as a tattoo, this is the point where I'm trying to imagine a demon with no trace of human life left. I would give it a sharp, rigid jawline with a fully developed underbite. And for me, this is the really important part. I might make the eyes more rounded to give it more of a psychotic expression, with fully developed horns and maybe more texture than the first two. So, next time you're deciding what colour Hannya to get, maybe the answer isn't just what looks cool, and hopefully this video has given you some more insight. You can now make a decision based on the story you want to tell of your past, your present, or where you might be heading in the future. I've also just released a small run of hand-painted Hannya prints along with a few others, each one signed, numbered and printed on high-quality washi paper. I'm really happy with the way these turned out. If you want to support the channel and what I do, you can find them in the shop below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.